Duke, you suck.
You shut your mouth!
Welcome to the Duke You Suck podcast. And now, Duke Durango.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of the Duke You Suck podcast. I'm here with one of my friends through wrestling, somebody I've known years and years, but unfortunately haven't actually spent a ton of time with, Gurvinder, Sihra. How are you, brother? Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Jordan. Good to see you, and thanks for having me, man. It's been many years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, like, I remember seeing you and your brother down in the dungeon. I mean, that was, early 2000s when I seen you guys down there.
Yeah, so actually, it was just me. My brother never got down there. It was just, so I got down there right in the summer of 2004, right before the Hearts sold the house. So that was like about mid-June, and I was only there for like 2.5 months, like mid-August of 2004, right before they sold the house and they started clearing everything up. So I got a good 2 months in there, and for me, I just wanted to get down there before they sold the house. You know, I mean.
Oh man, and excuse me, a lot of people don't realize too. I mean, you know, being from Burnaby, being part of and I didn't mention it, I apologize, but you know, part of one of the, in my opinion, one of the greatest tag teams out there right now. I'm so excited for you guys to actually get on your run in the Bollywood Boys. Somebody, you know, I've kind of kept a loose eye on you guys for a long time because you're so fucking entertaining. And by the way, you can say whatever you want on here.
Sure.
But you guys are simply so entertaining. So anyways, I apologize for interrupting you, but go ahead. So back in 2004, you got that 2 months in.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I started looking for a school, I was actually looking out here in BC, and at that time, I couldn't find anything. Because the internet access wasn't really something that was readily available at that time. So
for sure, man.
For me, I mean, when I thought about getting into wrestling school, the first thing I always thought about was the Hearts. And you know, you growing up in Canada, the only thing you heard was the Hearts, especially from Western Canada, where we're from, right? So, you know, for me, I remember. So going online and looking for the Hart family camp, and I found one in Ontario, but I think that ended up being a scam. Or the guy I spoke, there was some guy, I forget his name, but he told me, get off the phone, send me this much money through a money mart as soon as you get off the phone with me. And right there, as an 18-year-old, I had red flags, and I told my dad, I'm like, this guy wants this much money right now, so how are we gonna go about it? But my dad kind of smart me. He's like, that doesn't seem legit. So
yeah, and I honestly, I don't want to name names, but I'm almost 100% sure I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about. But then, as I'm doing my searching on the internet, I see OVW has a camp, but you know, the 18-year-old, you don't have that $5,000 to go down for 3 months. So anyways, long story short, that spring of 2003-04, I was working at Sports Check. And I was just saving every dollar I can, and because I had sent an actual handwritten letter to the Hearts.
Really?
Yeah, I actually sent a handwritten letter. I got a reply back from Bruce Hart, and
That's class, man.
I still got the letter with me, and I'll actually post it online someday. And anyways, Bruce wrote back and said, "Hey, you know, we love what you have as far as background goes, because I grew up doing taekwondo, playing ice hockey, and you know all the cool stuff that Canadian kids do." And then he just like, yeah, this is a fee for it. And I worked that entire spring to save up for the summer of 2004, and I flew out with my dad to Calgary. He settled me in, and that was it. So June 2004, got down to Calgary.
And how old were you, man?
I was 18. Yeah.
Jeez, your dad's a good guy.
Yeah, dude. It was so another story about my dad there, just to add some more context. So this is the first time I was actually leaving the house to be on my own for like a few months. Right. So I remember my dad, he actually like got so worried and scared of how I'm gonna do by myself. My dad had some family friends that I stayed with, so they kept me there rent free. I used to take the bus to Bonus and all that good stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into. But
oh man, we got to talk about taking the bus in Bonus.
Yeah, but yeah, man, my dad was kind of worried about it. But anyways, settled in, and he came to the Hart House the very first day I got down there, and met Bruce, met Ross, met TJ, Harry, and I believe you were there. And I'm gonna
Right.
throw out all these old school names. Carnage, I believe, was there, and
Oh man, that guy, he's one of those guys. Like, how did he even bump down there?
right. And yeah, man. So long story short, but I mean, the big deal I had with my parents was this: if I wanted to get into wrestling, I had to have a backup, which was go to college and
Okay.
get some education. So
Smart
anyway,
parents.
yeah. So the winter of 2003 that led into the summer of 2004, between going to college, working at Sports Check, saving every dollar for wrestling, and summer of 2004 showed up, and that's where I met you, man, and that's where
That's
it all
awesome.
began.
And
Yeah.
important question: did you finish college? Did you finish what you were doing?
So when I got back from Calgary, I did finish up, and
Okay. Good
yeah,
for
I got
you.
my background in criminology, so that was my backup.
Good for you,
So
man.
yeah, man, just parents were always, I even heard it from like the old school wrestlers too. Like, I remember when I used to bump into Jim Ross at the Cauliflower Alley Club, you'd always tell
Right.
me just have a backup plan. You never know if you need a plan B, or as a kid you're like, yeah, but wrestling's my goal. So, but anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
I
No,
I wanted to make
that's brilliant, man. Young guys used to come to me and say, okay, what's the best advice you can give me? And I'd be like, go to school, man.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
do this, chase your dream, but go to school.
Right. Yeah, and I even when I came back from Calgary, and then I started up with ECCW in BC. I was still going to college. I was still doing my schooling, in between training days and going to
Right.
school. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I wish I had spent more time in Calgary. I was only there for like 2.5 months, that entire summer, but
Right.
those memories with me will last a lifetime. And just for me, it's a badge of honor. You read in all the books that the Hearts have written. I mean, Brett, you see our social media. Brett was our guy, right? And, still is. And, to, meet Brett when I went down to Calgary, and then between all that time, which I'm sure we'll cover as well, like now see somebody I can just text and be like, hey, Brett, this is what's on our mind. Any
Yeah,
advice?
that's pretty cool, man.
So it's been a long journey, but I get goosebumps talking about it.
Well, I just kind of got them too, right? And I wore the pink and black to represent you guys, and of course, Stampede Wrestling.
Right.
I just shout out to the Sea of Dead apparel. These guys are fantastic. But yeah, I mean, the relationship you guys seem to have with Brett, I think, is one of the cooler things that you've kind of been able to bring to the forefront, because I think on a certain level with the stuff with the Montreal Screwjob, Brett's kind of got a shit rap. You know what I mean? Like, people say he's
Right.
bitter and blah, blah, blah. But when I see the way he interacts with you guys,
Right.
and Kid Chocolate is another one too. I don't know if you know who that guy is.
Yeah.
But yeah, they interact. It's just like, how can anyone think that he's doing so much and giving so much back to the next generation of guys?
Yeah, and I mean, even after we got our release a couple of months ago, and he was one of the first people to reach out, and we reached out to him right away, and he sent us this heartfelt text message saying, you guys will be fine, and just just know that you are walking away with your integrity and everything that you guys have worked with. So, but it's just like, it's something just like we hold on so dearly, and I'm a big believer in like a higher power, and like everything that happens in life kind of like happens for a reason, like starting in Calgary and like building that relationship with the Hearts over the years. And my first ever bump was with TJ, and then working with him in WWE over the years, and like Harry, Natty, who I continued to train with when we were in Florida there. So it's amazing to see this journey and how it is all connected from our very beginnings in Calgary.
Well, and I always tell people, like, it's a big business, because there's, especially with WWE, it generates so much money, right? So it's a huge business, but it's a small industry. So,
Right.
if you came out of the dungeon, there's generally a sense, okay, we know this guy's, he's going to be able to bump, he's going to be able to work, he's going to be able to entertain, and he's going to know how to, he's generally going to know how to work if you come out of the dungeon. And then you kind of carry that integrity, and it gives you a foot in the door everywhere you go, like that little bit of credibility, right?
Right.
When you rub shoulders with those people that you came up with later, and to me, it comes full circle at that point where, we started together and now we're at the top together. That's an amazing journey,
Absolutely, man. And I mean, I remember my first time getting down to, I remember meeting you for the very first time. I was intimidated by you.
Get out of here.
No, I really was, because the way you carried yourself. Right. This is like 14, 15 years ago. I mean, you had that handle, the mustache handle, and just the presence. You look like a veteran, like you just carried yourself on. And I remember never wanting to be disrespectful around anybody. And, just the things that I read in books, I was trying to apply in real life down in the basement. Right. So like, just make sure you introduce yourself, be respectful, ask for advice, keep your eyes open, mouth shut.
Yeah.
You know, all the stuff that really doesn't go around as
Yeah.
much today.
Well,
than it,
and you know,
than it,
shake the hands, but not too stiff, right?
right. Do that. Yeah. The veteran handshake.
And then I'm sorry, old veterans. Fuck that dead fish handshake, though. Forget that,
Right.
man.
Yeah. I've heard mixed stories about that handshake too. So over the years, now I just do a firm handshake.
Yeah, I crushed a couple veterans' fingers before, and ended before somebody kind of told me, like, yeah, that's how they can tell if you're like stiff in the ring or not. I was like, oh,
Right.
I think I'm really stiff.
I mean, if you don't mind me asking, when did you start down in the dungeon?
I started in the dungeon, I want to say November 96.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so it was, and I went away for a minute, sometime between 2000, 2002 for a little while in there. I was wrestling elsewhere.
Right.
But then came back and kind of stayed there definitely till it closed. Because there's, like you say, I mean, for me, no matter where I went, no matter where I worked, Stampede Wrestling for me and the dungeon in particular just always felt like home.
Right.
You know, there's other places with rings, but it's like, it's just not the dungeon. Like, it's just,
right.
The intensity was never the same, you know?
And like you said, it's like a badge of honor you carry no matter where you go. You know, it's like you tell people where you're from. Okay, I'm from Canada. Oh, who trained you? I originally got my start in Calgary. So like it's such a proud statement you can make, and like you say with so much pride.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I mean, the thing is, like, we're one of the last, our kind of group in particular was the last group to get stretched by Stu himself.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that for me was like, oh, did you know Stu? Well, I got stretched by Stu, right? Like that. One of my biggest things is, one of my favorite things is when a guy like you comes from the dungeon and gets signed and goes to the bigs, because that, I feel that is a part of all of us. I'm not somebody that ever begrudges that success. And I think it's important to recognize there's a different level of success, because Stu Hart once told me that I was a pretty good goddamn little entertainer. You know what I mean? And so to me, that's all I ever needed to hear. And the other side of that is I want to make sure I pass that on to guys like you, that when I see you, because you tell me like, hey man, I respected you when you were coming up, and please know that I think you're one of the best entertainers out there right now. Like I'm a little shocked they let you guys go. Like they're releasing a lot of people, and I understand that, but you guys are just something different. Like you're, to pair you up with Jinder, that to me was a perfect thing, to kind of bring you guys up. But you could stand on your own anywhere. And to be quite honest, WWE, I'm going to look right into my camera and say this for the one person from WWE that might see this, you kind of fucked that up, because these guys are marketable. They can work. They're good kids. Like it's, I think you guys, like to Brett's point, I think you're going to be just fine, man.
Yeah, no, and that's I appreciate those kind words, man. And for us, it's like even when we did get the call when we got released, it's funny how it happened. Like we had literally just showed up for in-ring training, because on our days off, Harv and I just go to the ring and we just bump around, and just there's no live events or house shows happening anywhere, so like everyone's like working once a week, if that. So for us, it's just
hard to stay in shape.
Right, exactly. There's no cardio like ring cardio, So for us, it's like when we showed up, we literally got the call like 2 minutes apart from each other, as we're just pulling up with our boots in our hands. So it's like, what a way to go out. If you're gonna get fired, at least we got fired showing up for what you love and what you love to do. So, and
at least you're ready to go to work, right?
Exactly. And it's funny you say that. We were flying out the next day anyway. So but it's just there's no like, what are you gonna do? Like you said, they've let go so many people, but it's not like you can be like, oh, I wonder what happened. It's just like, all right, we love this business, and we know we'll be fine, because we know how to. Like, for us, even like the WWE run, getting paired off with Jinder, like that was supposed to be, I think, a 3-week thing. The whole thing. I think it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be us debuting on SmackDown of that year, and I think we were supposed to go to Backlash, get him, the title goes to Jinder, and we at that, up until then, there was no plan, but I think we proved our worth by even being side characters. We were like, hey, like, let us take whatever bumps we were taking. We were making sure we made it look good.
Oh man, you guys were selling. Which one of you was it that Orton killed?
It was my brother.
Yeah. That's the first time I ever seen Randy Orton make that face.
Right. And like that's stuff that got us. We've talked to Randy about this, and that was the stuff that we earned his respect through that stuff. And
that's, you guys were bumping, right? You were selling,
right? Yeah, and that was just it. So like, going back to what you were saying, is like that whole time period was like supposed to be like a one-off thing, but we made it into what it became, like a year and a half run with Jinder. And then, after that year and a half, it's 205 Live or on NXT, or, doing an odd match here on Raw. It's like we were able to go in different areas.
Well, and the 24/7 stuff was awesome, right? Like,
that was fun because you're on the main show, Raw, and you're doing a program with one of the most entertaining guys of all time, R-Truth, right? So it's like
that guy's out of control funny, man.
It's one of those things that they talk about, like no matter what you're given, maximize your minutes.
Yeah,
you can get 30 seconds, you can get a 30-minute match, whatever it is, maximize your minutes. I think, to our credit, that was one of our strong points. We always knew no matter what we're given, we're gonna make it work. And you know what?
Yeah, man. Well, and the thing is, you guys had good timing. You were polished. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes guys come in off the indies, and it's. I mean, I've never been in that position, so I don't want to start talking shit or come across the wrong way. But the bright lights affect a lot of people, right? Sure. And you guys came in and went up fairly quickly to the main roster, and looked like you belonged right away, right? Like you guys already were polished. You didn't look out of place. You didn't need, kind of 6 months to find your feet, because you didn't have that, right? You had 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that too, because like I always talk about our quote unquote call up to the main roster. It wasn't really a call up. It was like we got called up, but it was on the job, on the fly training. It wasn't like we were, here's the draft pick and here's our draft pick for SmackDown, the Bollywood Boys. There was none of that. It was more like, hey, we need you at TVs. Okay, we show up, what we're doing, this is what you're doing. You're going to pair it off with Jinder. Like, don't ask questions, just do your thing. And that's what we did. And we did that. And it was like, okay. And then once we started rocking and rolling with Jinder, it was like, all right, you guys are off to Europe to go do this Europe loop. And it's like, okay, like it's just all on the fly. It wasn't like we were smartened up 2 weeks beforehand, or like, hey, look, here's your upcoming schedule, guys. Nothing. It was just on the fly. And I honestly, I cherish that. I love that, because that's like the last bit of that old school way of breaking in. It's like, just hop in the car, go 200 miles and learn the business. Well,
and you don't have time to get scared or nervous.
No.
Right? Like, it's happening. Like, hey kid, you got close to get on a plane? Yeah, why? Because here's a ticket.
Right. That was it. Exactly what it was. When we got on our first Europe tour, we flew in for TVs, but we didn't know we were hanging out for the next 3 weeks in Europe. We were literally at TVs, got called into talent relations, like, all right, guys, you guys are doing the next 3 weeks here in Europe. You guys have clothes? No? Okay, well, go get some clothes for tomorrow, and you guys are hanging out for the next 3 weeks. It's like, all right, cool. And it's like you're literally living your dream. And I've read Brett's book, cover to cover 10 times over, and it's just one of every you read those stories, you read Edge's story, and then you're doing it, but you're doing it in real life. It's just like, man, this is exactly what they talked about. And now it's like you don't get prepped. There's no like, you don't graduate from wrestling school and like, okay, here's your itinerary for when you get called up to the main roster. It's just like, for us, it was like, just go learn on the fly, and we did.
Well, and nothing can prepare you. Like, I could sit here all day, and tell you about the experience I've heard from people that I know that have been there, and what a pressure cooker it can be, and how fast things can change. And your life is, you literally, once you hit the road, man, that's it. You're on your way. Yeah. And until you're there, until you're living that life, no one can prepare you for that. Like, how fast it goes.
Yeah, I mean, talking about fast, like 5 years with a blink of an eye. It was just like, I couldn't believe it. But just the week we got released, we were just looking at, Facebook shows you all these memories that pop up. And it was the 5 years to the week we got signed. And like, the same week we got released. It's like all these little, little things that come back. You're like, oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, those little parallels.
Yeah, I mean, like what we thought would have maybe been a 5-month run, a 5-week run turned into a 5-year run. And like, I remember after we got released, a good friend of ours texted me saying, just, it's better to have a run than not have a run at all. And like, to have a 5-year run,
Yeah.
It's
and like you say, that's a testament to the quality guys you and Harv are, right? Because if you're dickheads, if you're douches, even if you're good workers, if you have a poor attitude, man, and you go on for 3 weeks, you're done in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that you guys were willing to go out there, sell your ass off, you guys worked so hard to make everybody look good. That's why they kept you for 5 years, man.
I mean, a lot of the times when we did finish the program with Jinder after as well, when he dropped the title, it was like, we were always looking over our shoulders. It's like, okay, when are we going to get told we're no longer needed? Because you never know. Because like
Yeah.
You fit a certain role, and okay, you guys, your time's up, and now you guys are gonna get cut. But like somehow we managed to find our ways back in the scene. Like I said, like right after that, we went on back to 205 Live, where we were having some of our most fun and best matches just because we were able to work for like 12-15 minutes.
Well, that was my thing. We finally got to see you guys get some exposure on national television, right? Just straight up for what you could do.
Right. And that was fun. And that's where it's nice being on the, you learn a lot when you're watching like the top guys playing the match, but then you want to be in the ring too. You want to work, you want to perform.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where we were having our most fun, was just like the last year and a half when we were on 205, a show that, like there's not much respect on the name for 205, but for guys who like to just work like us.
I was just saying, that's for people that don't know, man. Guys like us that know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, and it's one of those shows where you get to hone your craft and like try different things. And that's where we thought like the whole Bollywood shtick was really like, for us, we thought we were coming into our own now, and just just being ourselves. And that was where our confidence was next level right now as well. So, you can't hinder the confidence because it's already there, and we're ready for whatever we do next.
Well, now, and I don't know if you guys are allowed to talk about this stuff, so by all means, and if you don't want to, by all means, don't worry about it. But do you have any plans of what you want to do next? Like, are you just sort of waiting for your kind of, what do you got, 20, 25, 20, 24 more days?
Yeah, we have like less than 30 days left now. And I mean, that's while we're recording this at least. So, of course we want to, our number one thing is just work. We have families to provide for, and like you got to put food on the table, you got to pay the bills still. So for us, it's like, okay, what do we do next to keep ourselves relevant? And, luckily, most places are opening up again with shows. And, I think for us, the biggest thing is as it's funny, Brett always used to say as well, there's nothing harder than being a Canadian, because as a Canadian worker, you need visas, you need to get over the border, and you need to you need all your,
if you're trying to do it right, it's a full-time job, just keeping that paperwork in order.
It really is. So for right now, we're just trying to get, work as much as we can in the States. And we're getting a lot of emails, text messages. So I think we'll be okay. There are certain things that, we're hopeful for. And I think we'll be good.
Yeah, man, I think you'll be all right. Now, one of the things I've been following on your social media, I want to, let's talk about the human side of you for a second.
Right.
Man, you've had a really good opportunity right now to be home with your boy.
Oh, dude, it's a blessing in disguise. It truly is. It truly is. My son I'm like a full-time dad right now. The week we got released, my wife was just going back to work after her 18-month mat leave.
Oh man, okay.
Yeah, so she just finished her mat leave. We were just laying out the schedule for what it was going to be going forward, because I would typically fly out on Monday to do TVs for Tuesday, come back Wednesday, and obviously she works Monday through Friday.
Right.
She works for the government, and we were just trying to like lay it out how it's going to work. And sure enough, we got one weekend where we were able to work it out, and then the following week, honestly, there are days where I look at my son, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration. It's like, okay, now, when he was born, that I had a week home, and then I was back on the road, and like, right. Though you're missing certain things, but like right now I'm getting to watch his personality grow day by day, and he's really going from a babe. He's going from a little toddler like to like a boy now, so him and I are,
and I mean, so there's, as much as getting released sucks, I mean, you lost your job, but geez, the silver lining is you've got, this is a real cool time to be a dad.
Be a dad, make the most of my time with him, but also like, I look at him and I know like I gotta provide for him. I gotta put food on the table. I gotta keep paying the bills here, and like
he's gonna need to eat. He's gonna need the education.
Exactly.
He's gonna need some Flash Jordans, man.
Yeah. That's and that's where I kind of stress sometimes. Like, I just hope everything works out, and I feel like it's going to. It's just a matter. And timing's everything. You've been in this business long enough to know that timing is key, and.
Well, and that's what it really and truly, people ask me why I didn't make it. And I always say, like, there's never one single reason, but probably timing's the biggest one,
right.
what I mean? And you guys are kind of getting in my humble opinion, anyways, from where I see the business, you guys are going out as independents at a really good time.
Yeah, no, and
there's a lot going on right now.
a lot. And I look at like some of the independents around the world right now, especially like just even stateside, is like these houses are like they're drawing big houses. It's just not small. Sure. It's just not like these small little crowd. I'm like, you see some of this stuff on social media, he's like, wow, like there's more. Everyone talks about there's life outside of WWE, and that you can see that on social media, and you can see like, hey, people are being able to make a living, and that's where you get your inspiration, and you're like, okay, you know what, there are certain things of our character stuff for the Bollywood Boys that we couldn't do in WWE. Well, let's try it now. And whether we succeed or we fall flat on our face, that's on us. And I'd rather have it be on us than being told, no, you can't do it, or you have to go through like 10 different people to get it approved. So it's like, now it's just like, just throw it on the wall and see if it sticks.
Well, and that's the cool thing now is you can really, I mean, wrestling's, people laugh when I say this, but it's art, right? Like it really is. It's, live action theater when the dancers hit each other.
Right.
And I think that now you get a really good opportunity just to put your art out there. Right. And that's, and I'm not saying you never, that opportunity stifled and you never be able to get your shit in, but it's a little more of a, like you say, it's a little more of a restrictive atmosphere. So now you can literally just go do whatever you want. And that to me is where you learn how to work,
Exactly. And if it gets over because of you. And if it doesn't, then it's on you as well. Then, okay, let's go back to the drawing board and let's see what works next. So it's like, and that's the beauty of this business, is like, not you can't be comfortable. Once you get comfortable, then you're going to fail. You got to find a way to evolve. And, Harv and I are already looking at ways to evolve and, changing up our look in a way, and, see what else we can do and see what makes us stand out. Because at the end of the day, you're competing with so many other people out there, but you got to be different in them where people want to see you.
Well, and at the elite level, and I say this about a lot of sports, right? That at the elite level, everybody can kind of do the moves, right? There's lots of guys that can hit good moonsaults. There's lots of guys that can do, good arm drags, punches, kick stomps, all that stuff.
Right.
So what it boils down to are the intangibles, right? Lots of guys can do the moves really good, but can't draw flies.
Right.
Do you have a character? Do you have something you can change up? Can you bring something fresh to the table? Where you guys, I mean, when I first honestly heard that you guys called yourselves a butter chicken brothers, I didn't know if I was allowed to laugh at that. Do you know what
I don't know if we ever called ourselves the Butter Chicken Brothers, but I know butter chicken has been a huge part of our
okay. But maybe that's some racist bastard told me that then.
No, well, it may well, funny thing is, man, we used to do these like, I guess you can say not scrimmage, but like we'd do these mock matches and down in the dungeon. Right. And Bruce would give us like a scenario or whatever. And like
I remember this scenario.
Yeah. So for some reason I owned I chose to own a restaurant with Indian food, and I would tell the guy that I was working with, oh, no butter chicken for you, and I'll crack them open and I'll start laying laying some shots on them or whatever. So it's funny, like all these years later, like butter chicken has followed me throughout my career, and
oh my Lord.
Yeah.
So that's honestly where it started.
Organically.
Right.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Without being scripted. But like, even when we were on the indies, we would get butter chicken chants, at us, and like we embraced it, and we're like, okay, whatever. Like, people like butter chicken food, so let's just go with it.
Actually, I have an Indian buddy, and we were out at a restaurant, and he likes the butter chicken there. Right. But he says he won't order it. He always makes his wife order it, and then he eats it because he's like, well, I don't want him standing in the kitchen like, yeah, of course the Indian guy orders the butter chicken.
Smart guy.
Yeah. Well, as we're kind of talking about this, have you tried this gimmick like in the Deep South?
No. We haven't gotten that far yet.
No, I'm kind of wondering how that's going to get over down there.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's the thing. Even our Bollywood stick, like the biggest thing we always found was, you're pitching. Like, not everybody knows what Bollywood is. Like, majority of people know, but like,
Google
like,
it, people. Learn Bollywood. It's the
yeah.
happiest. I love Bollywood music, man. When I'm cleaning
Well,
my
it's-
house, I find the Bollywood channel on Stingray on the TV and listen to that.
Hell yeah, man. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. I mean, Bollywood, it's got so much color, so much personality and charisma, like the whole industry, and this just what we are trying to represent is it's sometimes harder to tell people, but when you got the machine behind you, it's so much easier.
Yeah,
You
I see what
know,
you're saying.
you know, a lot of stuff we were trying was on our own social media, and like, you know, we were doing these editing these videos of like Bollywood, like say for example, we would take a trailer of the Rocks movie and we would dub a Bollywood song over it, and like, you know, it would break out into a Bollywood dance sequence, and we would tag the Rock saying, oh, here's a new the Bollywood trailer of his upcoming movie. We would tag him on Twitter, and he would get back to us, and he would
That's
just
dynamite.
and he, because he knows what we're trying to do. It's all tongue in cheek, like a wink,
Yeah,
wink,
you bet.
hey, you know, but he gets what we're trying to do, and he sees what we're doing, and you know, and he appreciated that. So
Well, he's trying to give you the rub, right? Like
exactly, yeah,
yeah.
exactly, which we always appreciated. So when we met him actually a couple of years ago, at TVs, we told him how much, you know, he didn't have to do that. Like, it's the Rock, you know.
Yeah,
you know,
he's a fairly busy guy.
yeah, you don't need to tweet anybody, you know, let alone two brothers trying to do their own shit, you know, at home. But you know, he said he appreciated what we were doing, and he found it entertaining because he was in that spot once where he would just say stuff, and if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, you know, move on. So but going back to what we were talking about as far as Bollywood, like, you know, the whole presentation and trying to tell the public what it is, it's much easier when you can do it when the big machine is behind you trying to promote it with you.
Well, and I think that's like anything when you listen to kind of recording artists, you know, they say like, yeah, not always the best song of the year wins the Grammy, but when you have the music industry behind you or you have a record label behind you, it's much easier to get your message out there, right?
Yeah.
And that WWE machine,
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know, man. Is there any bigger machine on the planet, like a single entity? Like the NFL is huge on its own, but are any of the NFL teams on their own bigger than WWE?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you would have told me 25 years ago when I was breaking in that the WWE was going to be what it is now, I wouldn't have believed you, because I had an idea what those guys were making. I had an idea how hard their schedule was, you know, and then you kind of hear like, geez, they're squeaking by on money, you know, just at the time we were breaking in.
Right.
And all of a sudden things blow up for them. Like, you know what I mean? So, and then Vince goes public and he's a billionaire overnight kind of thing. Right. Like people can say whatever the hell they want about Vince McMahon, and people do, but that guy is a genius. He is an absolute 100% genius.
Yeah, it's a workaholic, and he knows what he's doing as far as like, you know, what, like you said, like from what it was to what it is, you know? So absolutely.
Yeah. He literally took it from, you know, and I don't want to overstate this, but you know, he took it just, you know, there was an era where there was becoming, you know, like UWF, there was a few more lights, maybe a little more pyro, but he took it from like, you know, the one light over the ring, you know, Stampede Pavilion to, you know, quarterly football stadium shows, right? You might get a football stadium show here and there back in the day. He's doing quarterly. He's selling out 70,000 seat arenas.
Unbelievable.
Or sorry, stadiums.
Yeah, unbelievable, man. It's amazing to see what the business was and to what has evolved. Even like when you watch, you know, when you watch old Stampede wrestling tapes, it's like, can't believe it. Like, this is what the business was and to what it is now. Yeah. So remarkable.
I was watching CM Punk come out the other night.
Right.
And I mean, I don't honestly have time to sit down and watch a ton of the product anymore, but you know, of course you tune in and watch that. And when the crowd was louder than his music, my first thought was, what must that feel like? You know, because I've had 2,000 people yell at me, but you know, for you, what's 20,000 feel like? What's 50,000 feel like? Like, what's the largest crowd you went out in front
of? It would be the Mania they had in Louisiana, not Louisiana. I think it's Louisiana. Ben's Stadium is like 80,000, 85,000. Yeah, it's just like sea of people. You can't even hear yourself on the mic. You know, it's like it's a weird feeling. It's just tunnel vision. You don't even see the sea of people until like you're actually out there for a moment, and you just look up and you're like, holy shit, like this is unbelievable. And you know, I've always thought about what Pontiac Silverdome was like for for the workers in '87, and
Right.
you don't even see the 93,000 or the 80,000 that were seated in that arena. Especially, well, for at least for in my case, I was just like, wow, this can't be real.
Yeah, and like, and that has to be simply like the tier. Exactly, that's it's got to be a surreal experience. Like it's one of those like, holy shit, am I actually standing in front of 85,000 people?
Right, at a WrestleMania.
Yeah,
So,
well, yeah, and top it off with that, right?
right. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's a lot of moments like that. Even like the shows in overseas, some of the shows they were packing like 20,000, especially in like Europe, and like I'm just
Right.
like wow, like, and they're boisterous, like it's just like they don't stop, and it's like for the next
Yeah,
3
those
hours.
European audiences are rowdy.
Yeah, it's a beautiful feeling, man. It's like
Yeah.
you can't describe it. You got to be there to feel all that stuff. So
Right. And you've wrestled in India multiple times. What was that like for you?
India was great.
Yeah.
We went the first time we went down was for when Jeff Jarrett was doing his TNA Rinka King project,
Yeah, you
and
bet.
it was a bit of a different setup where it was like a studio audience they had. It was taped, but like
Right.
just being able to go back to the soil where your parents come from, like from India.
Right.
So like our parents have like this unique story where it literally is they immigrated here to Canada in this late 70s, early 80s. They set up everything for us, and it's always like whatever. Like for me, but when I got to WWE, it was like I want to. Now it's not about us. It's not about my dreams, my goals. It's like
Right.
how do we give back? So like going to India and working there and see our parents seeing us work in New Delhi and rub shoulders with Triple H, in his main event match with Jinder, and like do all
Right.
that, do the media for WWE. It's just like it's until you're back home and you sit back and think about it, it's just like can't believe it. Like our parents come from these small villages in India, these small towns, and like they come to Canada for a better life for their kids, and like literally, their kids are living the American dream. And I remember feeling that way when we took them to the Performance Center in Orlando. It's like,
Okay.
yeah, the very first time they were just like, I got goosebumps just
I was
talking about
just
it.
like, they must be so proud.
Yeah, man. There's so many moments that I've thought about, like even just talking to you, like when we wrestled here in at Rogers Arena where the Canucks play. It's like that's where our dad took us for the very first time to go watch a WWF pay-per-view, and it was headlined by Shawn Michaels, who was a champ at that time. It's
Oh,
just like,
damn.
yeah, it's just like, man, like
That's
here we
good.
are, and here they are standing on ground level in front of the arena, in front of the ring, knowing that their sons are going to be performing here in a few hours. So it's just like there's a lot. It's like that feeling. I always, it's funny, man. Like everything that we do is like I always picture like what Brett did for Stu. Like when Brett brought Stu into the ring at the Saddle Dome there in Calgary.
Right.
Like I've always pictured our father being just as proud of us. Like when we wrestled in Vancouver, it's like it's for our pops.
Yeah, man. And that to me is one of the coolest things about wrestling is that it affords you opportunities that nothing else can.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you get road stories and no other walk of life. I mean, I bet if we just, I don't want to take too much more of your time here, but
no,
I bet if we literally just sat down, we could probably do another 45 minutes just talking about weird stuff you've seen traveling up and down the highway.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Weird
like
stories.
Easily.
Yeah. Like weird stories, like just like, Harv dozing off and like going in the wrong lane of the highway and like getting pulled over by the police, and like we get we get pulled over, but like Jinder's a champion, so like the three of us come out and Jinder gives a title to the police officers and like, oh, you guys are from the WWE, and like no questions asked, take pictures with the title and carry on.
Oh, see, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, just like these random road stories, but like no, I think that was one of the bummers for us, was like when we got cut. It was like, okay, we got cut, but there were so many dreams that we had, like that we wanted to accomplish as well. Like, we've always wanted to be tag champions, and like we wanted to, do it for our parents, but like we know we're gonna succeed and still do it for them. But like for our parents, like they thought like this is like, oh my God, this is. Our parents were like kind of like, oh, like what's next for you guys? And we told them, like, I feel like they took it harder than we did as far as our release goes, because for them, for them it's like, oh, like what's
That was
next
your
for you?
dream. They knew that was your dream.
Yeah, that was our dream. But we reassured them that we'll be fine. And
Well, you know what, man? I'm going to wrap up with giving you just sort of one piece of sort of, I don't know, unsolicited advice, I guess. But I gave it to somebody else, another friend of mine that got released from the WWE a long time ago. And I just kind of told them, like, maybe now they don't see it, but you guys are going to go out on your own. You're going to become big stars, and then you're going to go back and write your own tickets.
Right. Yeah.
And I really and truly believe that for you and Harv. I really honestly think that you guys in the next few years are going to become really big fucking stars.
Oh,
and then
thank you,
they're gonna come knocking at your door. You won't even have to worry about it.
Well, the beautiful thing about this industry as well, like from in the last 10, 15 years, there's so many places to succeed now. There's so many. We all see what AEW is doing right now. It's just like, we don't need to sit here and talk about it. We all see it. It's like,
well, and you guys could do cool shit in Japan, Mexico. Like, honestly, the world's your oyster. You guys can do whatever you want.
No, and that's the beauty of it. We're excited, and I feel like we're. And that's the beauty of having a brother in this crazy business. It's like you have somebody to lean on. Like, I can only imagine for people that try to, I'm sure, I guess you didn't have a sibling in the business. So, like, I can only imagine how tough it was for you at times to, like.
No, man, my brother was a worker too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know if you ever remember Irish Red O'Riordan from Stampede, or another worker named Crazy Dean Durango. But yeah, he was legit my brother too.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, he didn't wrestle as much as I did, but yeah, he had a pretty good run in Stampede.
Yeah, but just to have your brother, like, it's someone to, like, you can talk to, and you can be like, someone to reassure you that everything's gonna work out. And
100%. And people that don't have a brother, like you say, they couldn't get it. Like, they'd be able to travel up and down the highway because he's your brother anyway, so you're close. But when you're in a car with your brother, like you say, your brother falls asleep and you get pulled over by the cops. You're laughing about it, where some brothers be like, man, you know what this asshole did? And you're like, man, we got this cool story.
No, man, it's a crazy ride, but we're excited. We're stoked for the next chapter here, and we can't wait to get rocking and rolling here in the next few weeks.
Well, man, you know what? I can't wait. I'm gonna bust your ass again once you get rolling. I'm gonna give you 6 months or so to kind of get your guys' feet under you, and then I want to check back in with you and see how things are going. And
hopefully Harv will be here with me, and you won't.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna get him. Harv thinks he's not gonna be on here. Tell him Durango's coming for him.
Exactly. Or take him down to the basement dungeon.
Yeah, a little bit of a stretch. Yeah, right.
You know what? I gotta tell you, I know TJ always spoke so highly of you as well, and
thank you. Man.
Yeah, like I like I said, when I say I was like, when I first met you, I was like, man, like, this guy is so intimidating looking. I don't want to mess up here, but, like, it's like you're one of the nicest people you can meet in the business. So
thank you so much, man. Real quick, what's all your social media? Where can people follow you at?
At Bollywood Boys on Twitter, at Sihra on Instagram, and that's pretty much it. And I believe Harv is at Harv Sihra. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy.
Yeah, man.
We're right there.
All right. Gurvinder Sihra, ladies and gentlemen, going to be the next. Him and his brother Harv, the Bollywood Boys, are going to be the next indie sensations. You heard it here first, second, and maybe last. But yeah, man, these guys are going to be huge. Watch out for them. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye. Duke, you suck.
You shut your mouth.